Good evening, everyone. This is Dr. Myra Tatum Saucedo with the University of Texas of the Permian Basin, and I am addressing my American Literature course. I have two sections, and people are running up against the same problems. In American literature from 1865 through the 20th century, a little bit of the 21st century. So the problem is people feel like there's one right answer to interpreting poetry or literature. That is not true. That is so far from the truth. It's crazy. And people are looking for that one right answer on the internet instead of thinking for themselves. And this is highly problematic, but this is the world we live in, where on Facebook, you can just share something if you like it. Whether it's your idea or not, you just share it and say, here it is, and put in your own post and make it yours. So that's the kind of society we are living in with social media and everything, except part of the university experience is learning to think for yourself. It's called critical thinking, and you may not understand a poem the first time you read it, maybe not the second time. Keep reading. Look for certain words. Consider there may be symbolism in the poem. If you're going on a trip, it's probably a journey. If you're going on a journey, it's to find yourself. It's not to get from point A to point B. Like going on a trip to get from one location to another, that's probably not what's occurring with the journey. It could be a quest. It could be to find something about yourself or to help other people or do something, change the world. So, yeah, poems, they're compact, they're small, and they carry a lot of weight in symbolism, metaphors, things that stand in for something else. What is a skull? Does it equal death? Does it equal something else? Ancestors? You have to read the poem in the context. Okay, so you have a textbook. This is our last volume in this class, the Norton Anthology, literature since 1945 with some contemporary literature in it. Okay, so this is your textbook. When you read the poems and the literature, that encompasses the readings, the text. The context is everything outside of the book that may not be in there, like the background of the poets, what the time period was like that they were writing in. Was there a war going on? What was happening in culture? What was happening in the world? So there's the text and the context. Well, in this book, you have context in the introductions and the footnotes. Guess what? You need to cite those when you include them in a discussion board or in a paper. Where did you get your information? A certain poet won 4 Pulitzer Prizes. Well, that's not common knowledge. Where'd you get that? And he moved to another country after his father died. When he was 11 years old, he was moved. Where did you get that? That's not common knowledge. You need to cite the textbook. Okay, when you cite the introduction and the footnotes, you are citing the editor of the book, in this case, Robert S. Levine, Levine. He's the general editor. There may be a lot more people listed, but for this volume, it's him. So anytime you would be talking about Flannery O'Connor, when she died, It's not Flannery O'Connor talking. She's not telling you when she died. It is Levine. It's in the introduction. It may be in the footnotes, but when you quote somebody in the introductions and all of the other material in this book that is not the readings or the poems or the literature, it is Levine. So what would you do if you talk about Flannery O'Connor's background? She returned to Milledgeville when she became ill. In parentheses, you would have Levine, space, page number, end of parentheses. That's a parenthetical in-text parenthetical citation. In-text means it's in the body of your paper. While you're writing the paper, in the body of the paper, you will have in-text citations saying, I didn't just dream up this information. It's not just my opinion. I got it from this source, who's a legitimate source. So when you're quoting Levine, who speaks about all the authors and gives footnotes to the authors, gives introductions to the authors, then you're quoting Levine. This is a good source for background information. It's a legitimate source. Okay, then when you quote from A Good Man is Hard to Find, written by Flannery O'Connor, you would have O'Connor in the parentheses, O'Connor space, page number, end of the parentheses. If you mention O'Connor in the quotation, according to Flannery O'Connor, and A Good Man is Hard to Find, the Misfit says, or states rather, in quotations, you have already said where you found it and who is the person that said it, O'Connor, the author. Quotation marks, quote from the Misfit, in parentheses, page number. So on the works cited page, any book you write about, any source you quote will be on the works cited. So if you quote from Levine, he will be in there by the author's name, Levine, period, Robert S., and then the Norton Anthology, American Literature, and volume and all that for the citation page. If you have quoted Flannery O'Connor, then I will see O'Connor, comma, Flannery, period, and A Good Man is Hard to Find, quotation marks, since it's not a full-length novel or book. And that way you separate them. You separate the people that are speaking. You don't have Flannery O'Connor talking about when she died, and you don't have Levine being quoted when she is the author of A Good Man is Hard to Find. So there are legitimate sources that you can use. If you go to the UTPB library, www.utpb.com, and you get on the website, the very top ribbon of the page is the word library. You click on that, and it takes you to a page called Falcon Finder. You could put in there Flannery O'Connor, A Good Man is Hard to Find, or just Flannery O'Connor, Good Man, and full text. Click on full text, and you will get articles, scholarly articles, electronic books. Nobody has to go physically to the library. These things will come up that are journal peer-reviewed articles, which means they've gone through committees of experts as close as they can be, and you're getting a legitimate source. You can use those papers and cite those papers, quote from those papers, and you must cite the author's name, page number, and have them in the work cited. You could put in the paper, according to the article, Flannery O'Connor and the Notion of the Grotesque by Alan Holmes, and put the quotation in. You can do that in the paper if that's easier for you. But you must attribute where you get your work. If you're going to random websites or just Googling, O'Connor, good man is hard to find. O'Connor, good man. O'Connor, good. And things come up. You are getting random blogs, essay cheating mills. That's what they're called. People write the essays for you. Some will do it for a fee. You could see so much for free. And there's, the same thing with Wikipedia, Schmoops, Ask Jeeves, 1, 2, 3, save my essay, save my grade. All these random websites that do the thinking for you are written by a cadre of people that tend to write the exact same things. So if I get the same 2 sentences in a paper from a dozen students, well, what does that tell me? They went to a website. Yeah, they didn't all come up with the same 2 genius ideas about Flannery O'Connor. They went to a website. So yeah, I can run those sentences through different programs, see where they come up, and see all the websites they come up, exactly where they are, and see where people went. And it's like, oh, please, no. There's no right or wrong answer, and there's a lot of wrong answers out there, and I'm getting them. They're on random websites. So please think for yourself. I know this is difficult. I know poetry is new to a lot of people, and so is fiction. But sometimes your ideas are so unique and so amazing that you could write papers on them, and that's what faculty like me, like what I do. I try to find connections that no one else has found. And that's what makes a scholarly paper. And if you use these websites and people are not only using them, they're quoting them and putting them in the works cited. That yes, I asked Poetry.org or Poetry Foundation to analyze this poem. And this is what they said. And I have none of my own ideas in here at all. But here's your paper from Poetry Foundation. I hope you enjoy reading it. And that's kind of what I'm getting. And by the end of the semester, you have learned nothing about how to analyze a poem, how to break it down, how to think for yourself. You have only learned how to use what are known as the cheating websites, patchwork plagiarism, cut and paste from different websites, put it in there, think nobody will know, and suddenly your discussion board language changes into something so sophisticated. I wish that I would have written it at the PhD level, and it's like, I don't think this person wrote that. And guess what? 3 other people wrote the same thing. Red flags popping up everywhere, and I am feeling like what has occurred this semester? People are not watching the lectures, the lecture videos. They're not watching the videos I sent. They're not thinking about the works, and they're not even reading the works. No. I had a couple of students, instead of talking about Flannery, O'Connor's A Good Man is Hard to Find, talked about good country people. And I was like, wait a minute, these characters are different characters. They're not in A Good Man is Hard to Find. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, that's another story that she wrote. And it's because people are not even reading the props. Read them once or twice. read them and follow them and get the right article. Just don't start Googling stuff and think, I'm going to find the answer to this and get it done in 20 minutes. I'm in, I'm out, I'm done. Don't have to understand it. Don't have to analyze it. And it's going to impact your grade and your ability to move on out of this course at the university level and to comprehend and understand anything more at a higher level if you can't get through this part of it. This is a sophomore English class. And if you can't figure out how to cite things, how to research, what is legitimate and what is not, at this level, it's going to be so rough for you with, I don't care if it's sociology, petroleum engineering, whatever. You have got to learn what a legitimate source is. Where you get your information, you've got to attribute it. Say where you got it. Be able to state where you got it. I mean, one of the things I look at when I get a paper is the works cited page. And then I go back and make sure everything on that works cited page was actually in the paper. Vice versa. If it's in the paper, I need to see where you got it. If it's in quotations and there's nothing attributed to where it's just a random quotation in your paper and I can't figure out where you got it, it's usually plagiarized. Academic dishonesty, it's huge. You can get expelled from universities for that. So don't do it. Think for yourself. And I hope I'm not being too harsh, but this is critical, especially at this point of the semester where we only have a matter of weeks. You have got to complete your second paper. It has got to have Modern Language Association style, in-text citations, a works cited page, be coherent and be your own ideas. And that's a lot to ask, yes. But if over 16 weeks of a semester, you should have gotten that by now. If you're still struggling with that, I apologize. I could have made more videos, but I'm finding out even when I hold live video conferences, people aren't coming on. And when I send out videos, people don't watch them. So I hope you watch this video and I hope it helps, and I will make another one because it's already gone on pretty long, but I really needed to say these things because people just aren't really listening or just are not motivated to do the work. And you've got to have both things to succeed in college and the university level and succeed in life. So you can do this. Let's do it. Keep going and do the research. Thank you. Good evening.